everything, all the information comes quickly. So if we don't understand how we learn, even if we learn, like, you know, we keep reading, learning, all of these things, in your mind you are forming a very perfect answer, but on paper sentence formation is wrong, spelling sometimes goes wrong, you know. This is because you take a lecture or all these things, so there are these neural patterns that form, है ना? So there are neural patterns that form in various parts of our brain, and when you recall, so when you put too much information and you put your mind under pressure, now you are not getting the right word because it's too much information and you have not actually thought about it, you have not practiced writing. So your mind is like ये लिख दूँ, 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 और बहुत सारी चीजें आ रही हैं, और जब आप लिख रहे हो तो आप देख रहे हो कि you know something else is going in your mind and you are writing something else, है ना? In your mind you are forming a very perfect answer, but on paper sentence formation is wrong, spelling sometimes goes wrong, you know. Can you understand this? This is because you know you haven't practiced enough first. Secondly, you have not structured your content. This is why I always say content is not important that much, you know. Of course it's important, not in the sense कि भाई पढ़ना नहीं है content, but content has to be structured, because until and unless it is a structured content, you will not be able to produce a good structured answer. So people read 10,000s of pages on one subject, but if it is not structured, when you write answer, you will be writing generic points. You will be writing not just generic points, but you will be thinking बहुत पढ़ा है लेकिन क्या लिखूं, है ना? What points to write? This is because you know how our mind works. How many of you have any knowledge about learning processes? Okay, so in simple terms, when you read something or when you take a lecture or all these things, so there are these neural patterns that form, है ना? So there are neural patterns that form in various parts of our brain, and when you recall, so information is gathered from all these centers, all these places, and then there is a place in our brain where all of this information is articulated, put into a structure, and then you present it. But problem is that all these nodes that we have, online people can, is it available? Online people, am I audible? Am I audible now? अब पक्का चल रहा? चेक करते रहो. नहीं जाना तो है ही नहीं उनको. आज जब तक ठीक नहीं होगा वो नहीं जाएंगे. Online students, there is some problem because वो बारिश के कारण कुछ पानी भर गया है in the wires. Because of rain, you know, these wires have got some problem, I don't know what has happened, but something has happened, and that is why the connection is getting loose again and again. But don't worry, I have kidnapped the Airtel and the Spectra people, so we have two internets here, and still we are facing this. So there is this Airtel and Spectra, both of them with big corporate plans, and still I don't know what has happened with the wiring. So these people are looking, and I will not let them go till they correct it today. So most probably it will get corrected. So we were discussing that how we learn, you know, until and unless we know our learning procedures, it is like machine चलानी आती नहीं है, and we are thinking that we will produce the best products from our machines, right? But you will have to learn how to run that machine, or what is the process. So even if you give a smartphone, so if you give a smartphone to a tribal person, what happens? What will they think? So you gave a very hi-fi smartphone with all the AI integration, and a person who's living in a forest who has never seen anything of the outside world, you give him this. What will be his first thoughts? It's useless. What will they do? So they will try to use it as a stone or some instrument. Else, if light flickers, what will be their next thought? A miracle. Torch to pata hai nahi na unhe. Miracle. They might start even praying it. Right na? They will think, something, God, something has happened so beautiful in our life, and they might even pray and imagine some rituals around it. And after some time, it will become dead, of course. Battery chali jayegi na. So, can you understand this? So, if we don't understand how we learn, even if we learn, like, we keep reading, learning, all of these things, yet when there is a time to reproduce, it's like कि बहुत बड़ा था, है ना? अब मैंने अभी भी डिस्कनेक्ट हो रहा है क्या? हमारा ओके है? हाँ, अभी हमारी गलती नहीं है अभी. हाँ. Okay, I'm audible. It's fine now. Okay. So how our brain works? So when we read something, है ना? So problem is we are not reading. If we are not reading in structured manner, what happens? Supposedly you read a small ethics terms from here. You read something from there. Some books, some notes here, there. You have read it from 20 places, and you have not structured it properly. What happens? This gets stored in distant nodes in our brain. दूर दूर जाके वो स्टोर हो जाते हैं. And each information is connected to some other kind of information. Each information is connected to some other kind of information, and to retrieve this information, we have to follow that pathway. It is like there is a pathway. So if you have read this thing with a particular topic, supposedly you have read an example with the topic of attitude. Until and unless while you are reading attitude, you have also thought about that I can also use it in examples of ethics, or I can use it in examples of aptitude, or in the case studies also. The brain is not knowing that you can use it here and there. So what happens? This node is stored. It is stored in your brain. You can access it, but not at random, not in a short span of time. If you will give yourself time to think, if I give you half an hour brainstorm, this will come easily. But you have to write answers in 7 minutes. And in that 7 minutes, what all you have to do? First, I read the question. Second, understand the question. Then decode the question in the sense what exactly it is asking, what is the tone of the question, and after decoding all this, you brainstorm, or you make a structure, like in which structure I will present my answer. Then you think of an intro, then you write an intro, then you make subparts of your body, then you give body, and then you write examples, make some flowcharts, and then you write conclusion according to the demand of the question. And whether then you also have to see the articulation, language, presentation, logical structure, all of this in 7 minutes. If the retrieval time of information from your mind is too long, you must have read it, but you will not be able to express it. Simple. ऐसा नहीं है it's not in your mind. It is in your mind, but you will have to keep it accessible, so that the moment you see a question, your mind knows that what it has to write, what example it has to write, what point it has to reproduce. And this takes, number one, of course, practice. Secondly, the structured way of reading. Structured way of reading in this sense. So, why are we doing all these terms first? To make a structure. in our mind, what different terms actually mean. So if you know how belief system is different from ethics, or how morals are different from ethics, so if the question comes, some actions may be moral but not ethical, comment. Now you already have a structure made in your mind. What are morals? What are ethics? है ना? You have the examples ready, and then you have the structure ready in your mind कि कहाँ से मुझे morals के examples निकालने हैं, how I have to take the examples of ethics. So it's a structured reading that we do. So not just in ethics, any subject you are reading, always first understand the structure, that in what structure you are going to read it. So what happens if you read in a structured manner? The moment that thing is asked, anything associated with this node is asked, then anything associated with this node is asked, usko nahi पूछेंगे. So what happens? Everything, all the information comes quickly.